Got a bit of an update for you on the whole situation surrounding Congressman Matt Gaetz. Yesterday, we reported on the fact that news outlets were saying he went to the Trump administration and asked for a blanket preemptive pardon for any crimes he may or may not have committed. So up to this point, the president and really no one else in Trump world had said a word about Gaetz. They kind of just let him twist in the wind. So the president did weigh in finally in a very limited and interesting way. So here's the statement he put out. Congressman Matt Gaetz has never asked me for a pardon. It must also be remembered that he has totally denied the accusations against him. And so, Saagar, very notable here that he very specifically says he never asked me. That doesn't mean that he didn't ask someone else in the Trump administration about it, which is what the reporting was. So it almost was like, it almost sort of confirms the reporting around this that he was so specific in his language here.
Yeah, that's exactly right, which is that what's happened here is that Trump felt obligated because he likes to speak out on behalf of his friends. He saw this opportunity and he's like, it also must be remembered. He denies everything. And I think this shows that the Trump aides effort, who have all been desperately been like, don't say anything, Mr. President, don't say anything.
Yeah.
He had to say something. That's just what he does.
Right.
And I
think this was not really very helpful for Gaetz.
No,
honestly.
It was not helpful because actually it just stoked what was going on. And that comes amidst a new report. Let's put this up there on the screen, that Gaetz' trip to the Bahamas is part of a federal probe into sex trafficking. This actually makes it even more serious because it's not just transporting a minor allegedly across state lines, but across international boundaries. So this is it. A trip to the Bahamas taken by Gaetz with a marijuana entrepreneur is reportedly part of federal sex trafficking investigation into the congressman. Multiple sources said Gaetz took the trip with a guy named Jason Pirzolo sometime between late 2018 and early 2019. The sources said the entrepreneur allegedly paid for travel expenses, accommodation, and female escorts. And they said that the authorities are looking into whether the escorts traveled across state or international lines for the purposes of sex with Gaetz, and if he accepted paid escorts in exchange for political access or legislative favors. These are really like political scandals of the early 19th and 20th century. I have not read something so blatant, sex for votes type thing that in a long time. I know there was a saying in the Texas legislature in the 1800s, it was like blondes and bourbon in terms of what they used to bribe people with. So we're really returning. We're very much returning to our roots. In a way, you know, it's nice to see a return to the roots. In terms of political corruption.
Well, yeah, and obviously it's all allegations, and we'll see what happens and what comes out. And I will say with the Bahamas thing and with the allegation, because what they seem to be saying here is it may not have been that Gaetz paid these women, but it was like, you know, instead of the bag of cash, he's accepting the woman who was paid for by his friend, the marijuana entrepreneur. That quid pro quo thing is actually really hard to prove, though.
That's true.
You accepted something, a monetary value, in exchange for political favors. It's actually, because of the way our law is written, you really almost have to directly say, like, I am taking this I am doing this for you, because they just make it extraordinarily hard to prove. So I do want to point that out. That particular like quid pro quo aspect of this that they're apparently investigating would be pretty hard to actually prove out.
I'm sure that's certainly true. It is, I will say, the international aspect probably makes, I mean, these laws are written very specifically so that you can be prosecuted. If you can prove that you transport somebody across state or international lines for sex, that is a blatantly illegal federal crime. And so he very much could be in trouble here, even if the underage allegation isn't necessarily true. Look, like I said,
we haven't had the underage specific allegation connected with this Bahamas trip, too, just to be clear.
Exactly. So play in the mud and you get dirty.
A lot going on here, guys. More rising for you after this.